Hello and welcome back to the Mimic Commentary. I believe this is episode 17, and this is the Castle Morne episode. Typically, the episodes are between half an hour to 1 hour, but this episode will be as long as it takes to finish the Weeping Peninsula, and to finish the Weeping Peninsula, we need to go to Castle Morne. As a reminder, we crossed the Bridge of Sacrifice. We met Irina of Morne, whose father is the Castellan of Castle Morne. In the Weeping Peninsula, we investigated the Impaler's Catacombs, which had the Please Help Me prattling pate. We took a look at this wizard's tower that had wolves sitting out front. We met some Starcallers in a curious pose. Across the way, we passed a village affected by frenzy, and we learned that sacred tears were used in baptism because of the Kalu Baptism Church. We came down and looked through the Earthbore Cave that St. Trina supposedly led us to, thanks to the Trina lilies and those candle tree lamp. And there we found a Trina lily and a smoldering butterfly. And we kind of thought maybe the butterflies from the beginning were St. Trina's butterflies. We also talked about that maybe St. Trina was the one who sent Torrent to us. At the Demi-Human Forest Ruins, we learned a little bit more about the Academy of Raya Lucaria, how the Crystal Cadre gave sorceries to the Demi-Humans to learn the wisdom of stone in some way, and then we found the Shield of the Guilty, and we kind of tied that to Marika and what that might mean for her. Looked through the Morne Tunnel, which had misbegotten and some people, unfortunate people, stuck in the mines, and we learned that some Tarnish were left behind. We got our Guardian's Mask that taught us that people who are given Erdtree Barrier are destroyed unless they become Eternal Guardians. We learned that those who live in death are vengeful spirits. We looked about the Erdtree, minor Erdtrees connected to the Erdtree root system. Actually, you know what? Just noticing now while talking about this, it's interesting that the map shows the minor Erdtrees not having the gold leaves. That's interesting. I haven't noticed that before. We learned about Radigan, who might be a Golden Order fundamentalist. The pagan beliefs involving Death's gentle Death's gentle envoys, white winged maidens. We learned that Tombs Ward, this area here, might be because of the Prowling Mausoleum and the soulless demigods and the headless people who protect them. That Godfrey was banished down here and he became tarnished, and that he might be Horlu. We found Selen in the Witchbane Ruins. She's here. And she's over here. How interesting is that? And then from the Tower of Return, we were able to go to Leyendell, all the way up here on the Divine Bridge, and we talked a little bit about what the Erdtree might actually be, and what the sap might be. And now it's time to finish this journey. But while we're going down here to fight the golem, who's guarding the path, we came here before when we first came to the Weeping Peninsula, and I think the gameplay design here is that you're supposed to grab the map, get shot by the arrow, turn up this way to be protected, and then see the tree, jump down and get the tree. More gameplay environments here, the protection. You can hold behind this wall. I want to say, I think we recently hit a milestone on this channel of 50 members. And I haven't uploaded a video maybe, I don't know, it feels like a month, but I've been just doing this series while I've been working on the next script. And it's very special to me that, 50 people, 50 people have decided that what I have to say about Elden Ring is worthwhile enough to want to, toss a buck for an elongated series that delves deep into this world. Elden Ring is a piece of art that I care very much about. And if you're a member who's watching this, while this is, before this is given to the public at a later date, it tells me that you really care about this world too. And it's nice to be able to share that enthusiasm, the wonder, and the magic of the Lands Between with other people, because it's really a storybook come to life. And I feel very honored to be able to, not just thousands of people, which is insane, but at least, even 50 people. That's a lot of people. So thank you for watching. before it's given to the public. And if this is the public version, which is just me turning it off for membership, thank you for watching too. So we just fought that guy, and did it tell us what he is? No, we don't know what they are. He dropped great arrows. I think sometimes he does drop the golem arrows, which would give us more time to talk about what they are. Unfortunately, won't be able to say much about them. We saw one of them on the Divine Bridge, and we kind of deduced that they weren't built by the same civilization that made this castle, probably not the same civilization that made the falling castles, and maybe not the same civilization that built the Landel, the royal capital. You know, we know, if we, with our prophetic visions, we know who actually built them, but we can't deduce it yet. I also want to bring up something about Castle Morne. If you're familiar with the Song of Ice and Fire or Game of Thrones, Castle Morne reminds me of Casterly Rock, which is a castle that is built out of like a kind of like a mountain on the water. Beneath Casterly Rock is like gold mines, but the rest of it is like chiseled out of the rock. And I don't believe people know who made the castle, so it was most likely an ancient civilization that existed before the current day Westeros. This one obviously was created by our friends in the Sun Realm. We can just see that the design is very similar, so we know that this is a Sun Realm castle. But I think it's supposed to evoke Casterly Rock. Before we go in there, we have to look around. We can see the Tower of Return is in that direction, and the black stone that the Weeping Peninsula and most likely the rest of the lands between is built out of. Up there. This looks like a diabolical torture. So we have these tarnished on the crosses that, evoke America and the crucified pose. And I can just imagine that the reason why they're like this is because they're waiting for high tide to come in to drown them in some way. But since it's nighttime, you can hear that they're... I think you can still... Yeah, you can hear them screaming. Because these guys aren't actually dead. Like most tarnished, like our tarnished, we can't actually die. These guys are just strung up in perpetuity, forever and ever. In the day, you don't hear them talking, and it's mostly because their spirits are not housing in their bodies. Yeah, we know that night has something to do with spirits because we find spirit jellyfish either in shadows or at nighttime. Then you have the dogs eating them. And it's quite interesting that we know now that, Godfrey, he's the first tarnished, at least, first tarnished that we could determine. His warriors were the one who banished, and they returned. We have the Homing Instinct painting, which shows which shows a graveyard, a church, and then a minor Erdtree. And we did the Tower of Return. So by coming to the Weeping Peninsula, we were able to return to the Erdtree. And Godric's soldiers, who is trying to graft the tarnished, he has a trap kind of set up for them. Godric has the last of the golden lineage. You wouldn't think to know it, that he's the blood of Godfrey, as Kenneth Haidt says. You would, just by looking at him, you wouldn't know. We're gonna go by this area last. We're gonna start up here first. We're gonna start up here and then we'll move down. That he's doing grafting. Now we don't know what grafting looks like yet, but we can imagine what grafting is. We saw a grafted scion who put body parts to him. So and we're in Limgrave, the grave of the limbs. So Godric, last of the golden lineage. What's this? Last of the golden lineage, the blood of Godfrey, is trying to get some tarnished to, put him on his body with the rest of them. Trying to wear the coat of arms, if you will, of his ancestor to prove that he is of some royal lineage. We'll talk more about Godric when we get to him, but I find that storytelling so funny. We have our first mention of the Servants of Rot. Poison Mist. Release a poisonous mist before the caster. Those who dwell within poison know rot all too well. That death that begets, the death that begets life, that comes to all equally. That is to say, it is the cycle of rebirth put into practice. We found the Servants of Rot in the Tombsward Cave. They were people who wore mushrooms all over themselves. and we'll inspect this area. I guess we can inspect this area right now, and then we'll move north. Let's just look at this again. The servants of rot. Those who dwell with poison know rot all too well. So, connecting rot and poison. That the death that begets life. So, you actually see that there's kind of fungus growing around the little incantation scroll. The death that begets life. So, because something is rotting and decaying, something else is growing from it. That's what's making it, if you have like maggots or something eating out of something that's rotting, bugs of any case. This one is, they relate it to fungus here, so the fungus is growing on death. So something dies and it still begets life. It comes to all equally. So all things will rot. This is the death that comes to all. Everything will rot and decay. That is to say, it is the cycle of rebirth put into practice. Look at some toxic mushrooms. Now we have a few mentions of rebirth already. Our first mention is in the larval tier. This doesn't say rebirth exactly, but it says being born anew to birth people anew. So kind of rebirth in this way, the larval tier. We also have the dragon communion, which kind of looks like a larval tier, And there is, by consuming a dragon's heart, we learn that from Yura, that he says something like, the like it's like a fountain of power that might consume you. We might learn later that there might be a sort of rebirth attached to dragon communion. But I think the most explicit rebirth that we have so far is from the Shield of the Guilty. Venerating the... where is it? Yes, here we go. Shield made to venerate a maiden whose eyes were crushed by the briars of sin before being reborn in these lands. Venerating the repose of the soul, the shield boosts focus. So, this maiden, she was punished. She was guilty of something. Her eyes were crushed out, and she was reborn in this land. Her soul must have been reborn. That is to say, the cycle of rebirth put into practice. So I wouldn't say this type of rebirth isn't like a soul being reborn, but I guess maybe like something more transformative, because your dead flesh could be turned, can rot and decay, and then something new can grow from it. For example, we picked up the Erdleaf flowers, which are fallen leaves from the Erdtree, and we have Poison Bloom, which is also Erdleaf flowers that have just changed into Poison Bloom because they're so malleable. So we're seeing the Erdtree's byproducts, its fallen leaves, also, going through that rebirth cycle as well. And we have more Tarnished put up here, so, I think Godric's lot, or anyone who lives in this region, not too keen on them. And we got a lot of poison blobs, and I think we have a poison crab somewhere. There he is. I want to see if he looks any different. Or just like a regular crab. Yeah, you can see this guy's kind of rotting too. Oh, I don't want to walk up here. I want to look at him. So you can see, yeah, you have like kind of like parasites or maggots or something. Or worms coming out of him. Let's get off a torrent so we can see that better. So yeah, pretty cool. I wonder if he spews poison at all. But he's got holes in him too. Let's see. No, that doesn't look like poison. No, I don't think it's poison. Okay. That's all we have over here, but we have to go up north. We also talked about, since we're in the Weeping Peninsula, we get a little bit more insight into our prophetic powers. And we won't, we'll come back to the Weeping Peninsula in New Game Plus to confirm these suspicions. But the location of the Poison Swamp beneath the Wizard's Tower is very deliberate. If you watch my trailer for the Spiral video, and maybe in the Spiral video I'll talk about it. I haven't written that part yet. You'll know where we're going with this. This guy's not attacking, so let's look at him low and close. He doesn't have as many wings as the other misbegotten we've seen. He has one growing out of his back. He's much scalier, a lot of horns, bony knots. And he's just chopping that guy up. He's pissed. And I was kind of alluding to, like, these guys, they remind me of, like, men turning into dragons. Now, we don't have any reason to believe that yet, but they just, like, they look like, kind of like dragon people to me. Like, I know they're lizardy, but, like, big lizards in fantasy, I think dragons. We'll see if that comes to fruition. If the misbegotten might be dragon men. We'll see if that happens. We do know that this region used to be in the Sun Realm. This used to be all Sun Realm, it seems, because of our shield. The building of the churches. You know, these are things that existed before the Erdtree, and from the prehistoric age to before the Erdtree's founding. We had what seems like a Sun Realm focused around dragon worship, pagan beliefs involving death, white-winged maidens, and that, like, so maybe they were part of that culture. But I'm gonna say most likely not. Right now, I'm gonna say most likely not. We don't have any reason to believe that they would, where they came from, how long they've been here. Yeah. Here are, I think, our first aggressive spirit jellyfish. They are even out during the day, which is kind of unique for spirit jellyfish. Usually they're only out during the night. But maybe because we're closer to the ocean, this is why they are out. And they're also red because they're angry. Most of the spirit jellyfish we find are blue and not angry. But these are angry spirits, so I would imagine that the reason why they're angry is maybe how they died or someone disturbed them in death. This place is called the Weeping Peninsula with Castle Morne, so, you know, they may be very upset. And we also have these guys in the chairs. Maybe these are the spirits of the people who are sitting in these chairs. What are they looking out towards? Who's to say? We've seen a few people just sitting in chairs and looking out. Maybe in prayer, hoping to die. What do they have? Arteria leaves and somber smithing stone. Now, that's, you know, somber smithing stone. A little weird. A little weird. And the Arteria leaves, where are they? These are the leaves that have swollen veins, and they're used to cook the exalted flesh, that the delicacy in the Badlands, which we deduced most likely has to do with Poraloo, Godfrey, the Tarnish. That is a delicacy they like to eat. We also found one at the Church of Dragon, which was interesting. And before we go into Castle Morne, what do we have here? The Siege of Castle Morne. A lone hero fights for his vengeance, only to fall at the hands of Lord Godfrey. So with the Siege of Castle Morne, who is doing the siege? Is a lone hero fights for his vengeance, only to fall at the hand of Lord Godfrey. So the capital, the Erdtree, was up here. Godfrey was, I think Lord Godfrey. Yeah, we know he was a Elden Lord. Godfrey was a lord. Golden lineage. Up by the tree. That's a long ways from here. The path they took from here to here also has Godfrey's fingerprints on them because of the Echoes America. We also learned about Lord of the Long March over here. Lone hero fights for his vengeance. So we're kind of saying that the conquest of the Erdtree goes pretty far. Most of this land has been conquered by the Erdtree. A lone hero fights for his vengeance, only to fall at the hand of Lord Godfrey. So Godfrey, and most likely in connection the Erdtree, revenge for something the Erdtree did in their conquest. I don't... could it be Sun Realm? Could be Sun Realm. Could be another culture. Could be the Misbegotten. This would have to happen before Godfrey is banished. And we learned about Radagon. He's the king consort, and he has an Elden Rune. So, before Radagon, most likely during Godfrey's heyday. We also, I think we learned recently, there was an age of plenty when it was once thought that the blessed sap of the Erdtree would drip from its boughs forever. but the Erdtree has become more of an object of faith. Since Godfrey's conquests go from north to south, covering all the lands, we see the beast and the tree sigil showing the beast Sirach marrying the Erdtree and the heraldry. Godfrey's, spreading the faith, if you will, militaristically. And the lone hero fights for his vengeance, only to fall at the hands of Lord Godfrey. At Castle Morne. I'm curious, the siege at Castle Morne, is the lone hero sieging Castle Morne, or did they take Castle Morne and then Godfrey had to siege? Let's see if we can find any clues. While we're going through Castle Morne, let's think about this lone hero fighting for vengeance and the siege of Castle Morne. And also remember that the Weeping Peninsula is supposed to be Elden Ring writ small, and there's allusions to maybe places veiled in shadow that none have tread. So let's see if we can find anything there. Also going to do, I think I want to use the sword spear. Is that better than this? No, it's not. We'll keep using the gossamer. This stuff is interesting. We're starting to see birds. We saw birds at the Chapel of Anticipation a little bit, but we haven't seen any more bird imagery anywhere else yet. It's not connected to the Erdtree. It's not connected to the beast Sirach and Godfrey and the Golden Lineage. So this is unique. We have the Sun Realm, so perhaps these birds are connected to the Sun Realm. And in here, we have very explicit dragon imagery. These are dragon cannons. So we can I think firmly tie the Sun Realm with the dragons. Do we have in the prehistoric era before the Erdtree? So that could be anywhere. If it's prehistoric era before the Erdtree, that could be any time. There could be a lot of time before then. But we're seeing a lot of... We found a dragon church that had an ancient dragon there. There's the dragon cult. I can't say if the Sun Realm was before the Erdtree and that there was the dragons, but I think just based on like the big glowing tree and how in the Weeping Peninsula you cannot see the sun ever. We see the sun a little bit in Limgrave, but we never see it in the Weeping Peninsula. We only see the glowing of the tree. We barely even get nighttime because of the tree. I think it's safe to say Sun Realm, dragons, and yeah, I think we have like firm definitive proof. And these weapons too, tying them to the dragons. And the birds now, these birds as well. And we also have Grace, which is from America, from the Elden Ring, and from the Erdtree, pointing us to come to Castle Morne. It was very interested in us going to Castle Morne, specifically down here. So there's something America wants us to see at Castle Morne. Let's go find out what that is. Oh, before we do, let's change it to nighttime, because we're going to summon the demi-human ashes. And they get a little feisty at night. Oh, another important thing to note is that when we were originally talking to Irina, she said she heard something along the lines of, like, terrible howling. And we'll learn more about howling, but I just want to bring up that the Flame of Frenzy village is right outside the gates. Those people went mad with the Flame of Frenzy, which says things such as incantation originating from the maddening 3 fingers, different than the 2 fingers religion that wants the tarnished to follow their duty. Causes madness, so perhaps there was some madness being caused. We got more of these people with the things around their neck. We can assume that, since these people are all dead, they are a common folk. We'll get confirmation later that these are common folk. But now that we've seen so many in this castle, and they're not wearing armor, now you could say those are the commoners. We know they are because of the items, but I didn't pick it up yet. So let's look. Oh my goodness. All right. A rebellion really did happen here. And it wasn't Sun Realm soldiers who were killed. It was Godric's soldiers and these common folk. That's a massive pile of bodies. Look at that. A lot of people died here. They're burning them. I think Irina calls them the servants. So, you know, these people most likely were not treated very well. We can find them in the mines, too. Are we seeing kind of like an echo of what that originally looked like? Let's also get the demi-humans to fight them. You know, let's get all of the underclass peoples just to fight each other. This is some, like, you know, here's some political commentary for you. We're getting all of the poor and the misbegotten to fight each other, fight our wars for us. When they should be banding together to to take down Godric or something. But instead, you know, we got them working for us. And since there's a bunch of fire here, we have the smoldering butterflies. We'll talk about the kindling. These are very useful in kindling. But I don't think we have any indication what that could be yet. We know that our prophecy tells us that the Erdtree is going to burn. Oh, and I'm going to die. That the Erdtree is going to burn. And it might require kindling to burn. All right, my demi-humans did not do well. And neither did this weapon. Oh, boy. All right. We're going to have to try that again. You know, perhaps we learned our lesson that you can't send demi-humans to do a knight's job. And Banished Knight Engval, he's got dragon ornamentation. He's totally a Sunrealm guy. He's totally a Sunrealm guy. He's a dragon worshiper. He's banished for a reason. He's going to want to take back his castle. And what's better to take back the Sunrealm than with a flaming Morning Star? So we're going to try that again. You know, I said that these people might be dragon people, and I'm not... Oh, he's using the storm spells, too. The birds fly on the wind, so there we go. Now we got some... That's some prophetic visions coming in about storm spells and birds. These guys have wings, too. I mentioned something, like, coyly about them, you know, frequently, that they might be dragon people, and, you know, we're just trying to think... What could this be trying to tell us about the story that we'll learn later? Maybe when we replay this, it'll make more sense. That these people who kind of evoke like dragon people, that they are the ones... Oh, that barely healed them. That they are the ones who are rebelling in this castle. That used to be part of the Sunrealm. So, was the person, the lone hero fighting for vengeance, are they related to the Sunrealm in some way? That's what I want to know. I think that's interesting. More of the dragon stuff. More of the bird imagery. A lot of hanged soldiers. This common soldiers. I think we have a few of them. You know, you kind of see it like this guy right here. His wings are fully developed. Much like the bird. It has the bird imagery. He has the bird imagery. So, is that lone hero Sunrealm? Is he that lone hero dragon related? It's just some musings. We have one of the pumpkin heads. We don't know they're called pumpkin heads yet, though. Fire grease, of course. Anything interesting about the trees that they're chopped down? I don't know if we can take anything from that. Unfortunately, didn't get his helmet. Can't talk about who he is. Oh, Engval's going to disappear. Alright, what do we have in here? So this is pretty awesome. The Claymore is probably my favorite weapon. Maybe in all of the Soul series. It was my favorite weapon in Dark Souls 1. Large sword with a long straight blade. This heavy sword is usually wielded with two hands, but those with enough strength, one is sufficient. In addition, heavy sweeping attacks, it can make a heavy piercing thrust, making it a versatile weapon. You know, the thing that this weapon is in this Sunrealm castle, in Castle Morne. It might be a callback to like the early like Dark Souls and stuff, that they put like the classic sword in this kind of like ancient era castle. But that could just be like, you know, me trying to see something that's not there. And we get the Artorias Guts Berserk flip. So we're going to use that, I think, for the rest of this level, because I love the Claymore. And it looks cool. You can see, I guess that's where the waist comes out of. You can kind of see the waist coming out of there. It's a very well-made castle. Just like well-designed. It looks legit. One of my goals for this series overall is, you know, not just to share with whatever knowledge I have, but also to learn along with everyone. I haven't done a playthrough like this where I speak out loud my thoughts as I go. You know, it's generally just I'm playing and I'm thinking while I'm playing. Maybe I'll write a note or two. But Castle Morne is something that kind of like perplexes me a bit, especially who that lone hero might be. There's so many answers. So please don't be afraid to put your own ideas down in the comments so we can talk about it. Woo. Oh, you know, I picked up... I didn't even mention... I feel so silly. Lion's Claw is a skill of the redmanes who fought alongside General Redon. It's a lion's claw. So it's in relation to the lion, the beast Sirash. But we know that Godric, who is a golden lineage, who uses the lion as his imagery, he lost to Redon in battle thanks to Kenneth Haight. Ken told us over here. And we also know that Godric lost to Melania, or he hid from Redon in his castle, and then he licked Melania's boots. And that is interesting that he has the lion's claw, that Redon and his redmanes. Redmanes, you know, red hair. Okay, all right. Now we're getting red hair, a redmane, a redmaned lion. Redmane lion. Different than a golden lion. So we have a redmane lion and golden lion. We have different factions there. There was another, I think it's the cookbooks that talk about Redon that we have so far. Where are the cookbooks at? I think it's under key items. The Armor's Cookbook, which has to do with fire. So the red-maned General Redon and his lion's claw, and you can see a lion on there, they're fire. Different than the golden lion, Sirash. And they also do the Exalted Flesh, which is related to Godfrey. He has red hair. Yeah, we're gonna have to wait for more information on that. But we recently just picked up the steel wire torch. Torch wound with metal wire. The flame can illuminate dark locales or used to attack enemies. Heavier than normal torch, but the heated filament boosts fire damage dealt. Blow into a torch flame, spreading flames in a wide forward arc. The flames on the ground will continue to burn for a short time. So you can let's equip it and look at that. That one doesn't have it. That just has dark attack. So this one has fire breath. And, you know, we're talking about dragons and stuff. You know, dragons breathe fire. So I think I think that's another, like, allusion to this being related to dragons and the dragons being the sun realm, breathing fire. But we found this sword. You know, the Claymore has the lion's claw, the redmane lion's claw. The redmane is found on this sword in this castle. This sword has that skill for a specific reason. So we'll have to be thinking about redmane lion's claw. That could do this. And is the redmane lion claw, are they allied with dragons in any way? Are they allied with these misbegotten in any way? The misbegotten actually have, speaking of redmanes, their legs are red. They have red fur. So we're getting a little connection there as well. And they're different to the golden lions. I wonder if that fall will kill them. It does. So yeah, these guys have... Are there wings? Yeah, there's red wings in there. There's red in their wings. There's red on their legs. And we have the lion's claw for... It says... Yeah, skill of the redmanes, who fought alongside General Redon. So we're getting connection between Redon and these guys. Color red, too. Yeah. Yeah, this is, yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm seeing something there. Oh. Oh, he's a slick one. Yeah, I'm leaning more towards these guys. These guys, I'm leaning more towards dragon people. The more I talk about, like, using the prophetic wisdom that we have of the future and what is to come. We don't have it yet, but just what do we know? Just saying, like, the red and the dragon. Oh. Oh my goodness. Oh. It's toast. It's so toast. I can't talk about it in this series. I can't. You'll think I'm crazy. You'll think I'm crazy for saying it. But I have a video. About I sit in front of a green screen and I talk about a certain dragon. We're not going to go down there yet. Because, you know what? There's no way to get back up once you jump down there. Very annoying. I have a video where I talk about a specific dragon being a specific thing. And it was very adamant about them being that specific thing. But now just thinking about the red and dragons, I'm beginning to think it might not be him, but the other. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, it will be in the next video. I have been toying with it, but now I feel so confident about it. I've been toying with this idea. I haven't put it to paper yet, but now I'm feeling really confident about it. Castle Morne, I see why America wants us here. She wants us to see a lot of these red guys with wings, red mane, fire breathing, bird people. Oh god, he's gonna kill me. Yeah, I'm picking up what she's putting. I'm picking up America's putting down now. I'm seeing the vision. I see the vision. The Sun Realm. Yeah, I'm getting it. If you guys, I know. Though what a great episode on Castle Morne. Me saying, "Oh yeah, I get it now," and not saying what it is because I can't. It's not. That's breaking the series. I can't do that. However, we got this guy over here. This is. Oh, he doesn't have the. So he's wearing the same armor as Engvall. The armor set that he's actually wearing, we can't get till very late in the game. But it is the same armor as Engvall. It's the same cod piece. Oh, he even has spurs. Never noticed that. He's a true knight. He's a banished knight. He's old. This guy's a banished knight who is holding this Sun Realm castle. He's holding the Sun Realm castle. Irina is his daughter. And these misbegotten. Misbegotten also means, I think, bastard. They use in House of the Dragon, in HBO's adaptation of Fire and Blood, they use the word misbegotten to describe bastards, which is cool. So these bastard, misbegotten dragon-type people, and we have a dragon-worshipping dude holding this castle. Why is he a dragon-worshipping dude? He's got the same armor as Engvall. Let's talk to him.
There's a face I've not seen before. I'm Edgar, warden of this castle, as ordained by Lord Godric himself. But you can see how things have turned out. The menials have all rebelled. They gave me good service, or so I thought. But it seems it was all an act. Foul creatures, as it said, and true enough, they're foul inside and out. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but whatever you come here to do, I'm afraid Castle Morne won't hold much longer. Take this, by way of apology.
All right. I'm not going to give him the letter yet because I want to talk about what he just said. So, oh goodness gracious. What a guy. Okay, let's zoom in on him while we recap what he just said. I'm Edgar, warden of this castle, as ordained by Lord Godric himself. So, Godric, last of the Golden lineage, who fled the capital, hid from General Redon and his redmanes, and then challenged Melania and kissed her boots. He has the Golden Lion, and he's not, he's part of the Golden lineage, part of Erdtree culture. Fled the capital. Not a dragon guy. Not a dragon guy. He's Golden lineage. He's Golden Beast. Not a dragon guy. That we're aware of. There's a cult of ancient dragons in the capital. Perhaps he's part of that cult. But we don't have any reason to believe that he would be part of that cult. But he could be. So far, leaning towards, typically, Godric is not a dragon-associated person, based on the evidence that we have now. But he ordains this kind of banished knight, most likely banished from the Sun. He's banished because the Sun Realm fell. Okay, we're building a picture of a history. The Sun Realm was the ruling power before the Erdtree. Their castles are all over the place. But the Erdtree, Godfrey, he was the man in charge for a bit. It's his town now. This guy's a knight. He's still a knight. We could think, I'm thinking in A Song of Ice and Fire, he would be considered a Targaryen loyalist. He sided with the Targaryens against Robert Baratheon. But King Robert, after he kills Rhaegar on the Trident, some people bend the knee to him, and they get to live out their lives. Some of them might get banished to the Wall. But, we see this guy's from probably a previous era, the knight from a previous era, and he gets to rule this castle, which seems to be part of his lineage, Sun Realm lineage. The menials have all rebelled, so he's talking down to these misbegotten. They gave me good service, or I thought. But it seems that it was all an act. So, that's interesting too. Oh goodness gracious. This is all so much foreshadowing. When we come back to the Weeping Peninsula, it's gonna be wild. They gave me good service, so I thought, but seems that it was all an act. So the misbegotten, to his perspective, they were acting the whole time. Their goal was always to rebel and to overthrow them. These kind of like red dragon people with kind of white scaly skin. White scaly skin. Kind of colorless scaly skin. Red fur. They were acting. They're foul creatures, as it said. And true enough, they're foul, inside and out. Some discrimination against them. But I want to see if we find any other creatures that are considered foul in Elden Ring. Maybe we can find a correlation between them. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but whatever you came to do, I'm afraid Castle Morne won't hold much longer. Take this by way of apology. And what he gave us, sacrificial twig, a talisman fashioned from a dried twig, so slender that it might snap at the slightest touch, prevents rune loss on death, but it will be lost in exchange. So this one, it gets destroyed. Instead of us dying, the twig dies for us. Believed to be a twig pruned from the Erdtree long, long ago. So this, sacrificial twig, the Erdtree is just, this little piece of the Erdtree is dying in our place and losing its runes instead of us losing our runes. Why does he have it? Is this his talisman that he's been holding on to? The Erdtree, as I guess, like an empire, the city that's built around that tree. Could that have been Sun Realm, and then Godfrey took over, and now, he co-opted the tree. The tree's his. We know that the Lord of the Long March bore an axe, and so does all warriors, and we know that Godfrey is the Lord of the Long March, and axes are great for chopping down trees. Is it possible that, that's kind of like symbolizing that Godfrey might not be an ally to the trees, but an enemy in some way? He keeps the one golden tree. No one else gets to keep a golden tree. I don't think we have any indication that any minor Erdtrees or any Erdtrees were felled in that way. But when we defeat enemies, they're called being felled. The trees are being felled. They're being cut down to fell a tree. The enemies are being felled like a tree. Perhaps he was monopolizing this power. We know from like the Sun Realm, not the Sun Realm Stone, from the Warming Stone, that the Erdtree is once warm as the gentle sun. So the sun used to be gentle for everybody, but now this tree is monopolizing it. It could be that this guy was part of the Sun Realm. He has a sacrificial twig. That the Erdtree might have been not as bright as it used to be. It has to grow. It didn't just start this way. There was a time before it. The Erdtree might have been for everybody, or for a select few people, and it wasn't imposing as everywhere else. You understand what I'm saying? Like, there was a time when maybe during the Sun Realm, the Erdtree existed, and it was good. All right, it was a good tourist attraction, and people could come to it. But then now it's monopolized. Someone violently wrested control of the Erdtree and spread that, and then made it their faith. Like, you have to worship me and my tree. Your sun is no longer, you can't see the sun anymore. It's all about me and the tree. And we know Marika. She's evoking the tree. Her power is the tree. She's the one. These are her tears. You know, these are sacred tears. They're her tears. Is she crying because the tree was taken over? Is she crying because the tree was taken over? I think Marika has more to cry about because she had to sacrifice something. And I'm thinking she had to sacrifice an impaler. That's where I'm leaning. So let's give him the letter because this is actually, oh, you know, he is focusing on duty. Oh, here's another one. We're going to give him Irina's letter. You know, I was saying that maybe Irina is Marika. She got blonde hair. And it's her father. She's, you know, father doing her duty. But perhaps it's the roles are reversed. Perhaps Edgar. What if Edgar is supposed to be Marika? What if Edgar's supposed to be Marika and then Irina? What if Irina is the Impaler? She's right next to the Impaler's catacombs. Arena of Morne, Impaler's catacombs, Bridge of Sacrifice, Castle Morne, Weeping Peninsula. He's sad. He's dejected. His head's laying down low. Oh, you know what? Oh, gosh. Is this... I don't want to teleport because we won't be able to see it. His head is looking down. Marika's head, the statues of Marika, they're always pointed down as well. I like that reading. I like reading Edgar as Marika and then Irina maybe as the Impaler. Or just maybe as a child that has to be sacrificed. And we learned about the Shield of the Guilty, someone being reborn. I wonder, and here's some little foreshadowing, I wonder, is Irina, will she be sacrificed and reborn? Will there be a rebirth of Irina? Will we see that in the future? I'm getting some tingling from my prophet blindfold. It's really coming through. So yeah, they can be, but these also could be multiple people. They could be multiple. But I like that. I like that idea. Let's think on that. Okay. Let's give him the letter.
Now then, away with you. You've no reason to risk your neck dawdling here, eh?
So he's fully given up. He doesn't think that the castle is no way to save the castle.
I see. From Irina. Thank you. I'm in your debt, but I can't leave yet. Even if the castle should fall, as commander, I must remain to ensure the treasured sword of Morne does not fall into the wrong hands. If you see Irina, do tell her that her father will come for her once he's fulfilled his duty.
This is just like Arnold Schwarzenegger's Jingle All the Way. The father needs to learn that work isn't the most important thing, and he has to spend time with his family. Even if the castle should fall, as commander, he's got to sink with the ship. To ensure the treasured sword of Morne. The sword of Morne. Oh, sword of Morne? Holy moly. The sword of Morne. So for my Song of Ice and Fire fans, the sword of mourning, like this type of mourning, like the mourning, the sword of mourning is the title of House Dane bestows on one of its knights who bear the ancestral greatsword Dawn. House Dane is like super important. I could talk forever about Arthur Dane and Arthur Dane maybe being Corrin Halfhand. Corrin the Halfhand. But yeah, that was a sick line. The treasured sword of Morne. Oh, sword of the morning. All right, so he has to protect. Let's see how this is. Okay. So yeah, you should go check on your daughter. You're making a bad move. Don't worry about the sword of Morne. Oh my goodness. You know, I haven't even thought about, even in A Song of Ice and Fire, why it's called the Sword of the Morning. Oh my goodness, I gotta. I'm almost halfway. I'm halfway through A Feast for Crows. My reread of Feast for Crows right now, as time of recording. And then after I finish A Dance with Dragons, I wanted to go do a chapter reread for the channel, Sam 1 of A Feast for Crows, because there was a lot of foreshadowing there for Winds of Winter. But Winds of Winter's not even out yet. How do you know it's foreshadowing? I know. Come on, I know. But yeah, that's sick. Okay. Oh, I don't even know what to make of that yet. There's just this level is just so crazy. Should we level up? Probably. I said I want to do a faith build. I'm not really using my faith right now. Let's look. Did I say faith dex maybe? Faith dexterity? Yeah, we'll pump up our dex. That looks like where the sun should be setting, right? That's what the light looks like. But that's the south. The sun sets over that way. And the north, there's our North Star. Okay. And here, ooh, we see something really cool. A grave at the back of Castle Morne. Mourning the dead. You see a lot of dead bodies. Oh my goodness. Oh. Man, Elden Ring is so cool. They really know how to, like, build a world, tell a story. And what's so great about the storytelling is I feel like I'm discovering something, but I could just be making it, like, I could just be making it up. I got another sword, so okay. Like, you know, is that the magic of Elden Ring? That the story isn't the one that it's trying to tell, but it's the one we tell ourselves? Hint, hint, that's something I talk about in the next video. But that's pretty cool. We got these writhing flesh things. These poor people, they can't die. They turn into flesh balls. These people are cowering. These misbegotten are cowering. What are they afraid of? What do we have in here? Is there a goop? Yeah, there's goop. Goop is weak to fire. Oh, you know what? That makes sense too. Oh my god. There's... never ending. Okay. Is there something attacking me in here? Oh, it's just you. I'm gonna get rid of you. So they don't bother us. Perhaps... Who also is in there? Oh, they put Godric soldiers in there. Right? No, it's still some of the commoners. This is a torture chamber. Pickled turtle meat. Practically boiling out endless power. That one. I gotta learn what this is made of, and then we can talk about that. Perhaps these misbegotten are cowering in here because they were tortured in here. No, it's very interesting that we get to the back of this castle and we find that there's torture happening. Torture happening in this castle. I wonder what that's supposed to mean. You know, torture is something that's very prevalent in Elden Ring. We haven't really gotten to that stuff yet. I don't think we'll see it till later, but like torture for a purpose is, I think, mostly prevalent in Shadow of the Erdtree. Let's see what this guy says. Please help me. I'm of noble blood. If those hideous mongrels eat me, I'll be forever marred. Anything but that, please, think of the disgrace. Blood is really important in Elden Ring. Bloodlines, especially. You know, we got this beast blood, glittering gold, but the Lord of Blood, glory to his inevitable reign. This guy says he's of noble blood, and if those hideous mongrels eat him, he'll be forever marred. Anything but that, please, think of the disgrace. So they do not have noble blood. When we talked to Kenneth Haidt, I didn't notice this when he said it. I only really noticed it recently. I want to read this to you. This is interesting. He says, this is very funny. Okay. So this is when he's talking about Godric. He says, and to think, he's the blood of Godfrey, last of the golden lineage, though you almost wouldn't know to look at him. Okay, so he says, this guy, the ghost that we just talked to said he's of noble blood. There is a Lord of Blood. Beast blood glints with gold. Kenneth Haidt says he's the blood of Godfrey, last of the golden lineage. But you wouldn't know by looking at him. He also, when you go to help him, he's like, you know, you're tarnished, but just because you're not, he says, the help is very much appreciated, even from a tarnished. Despite appearances, nobility is no prerequisite to serving the true order. So being tarnished means you're not noble. Godfrey used to be part of the golden lineage, and he used to be noble, but he lost his nobility. He lost his grace. I guess the gold was taken out of his blood. He was literally, his nobility was taken away from him. He became tarnished. And I guess that's why we could see why Godric is kind of down on his luck, because his nobility, his ancestors' nobility was taken away. They still cling to the power of the past, the old symbols, but, you know, it's not doing him too well. He was still banished from the capital. But this is what's funny. This guy in the cage says, I'm of noble blood, okay? I'm of noble blood. Kenneth says, he's the blood of Godfrey, last of the golden lineage, though you wouldn't know by looking at him. And then when he talks about getting his castle back, he says, a knight commander of Stormville took it, a fool, and blood mad to boot, simply obsessed with blood. Like, bro, you're obsessed with blood. You're talking about, like, which bloodlines are the best, you know? That's like, you know, we're gonna get a little political here. That's like Nazi stuff, okay? And we haven't gotten to them yet, but there is an allusion. There is like a really serious allusion to Nazis in Elden Ring. And I'll give you a hint. It's some people's favorite NPC. Some people's favorite NPC is a, like, pretty overt like allusion to Nazis, and it has to do with blood. So, you know, when we get closer to them, we'll talk about that. And, you know, I think we can all agree Nazis are bad. That's not a controversial opinion. People who are obsessed with purity of bloodlines, pure blood, those people are bad. And I think Elden Ring is agreeing that if you think that purity of bloodlines is important, that you may in fact not be very good. Do not worry about the purity of someone's blood. That is very weird and not normal. There's my political hot take. Don't judge people based on their blood. And now back to Elden Ring lore, which politics and Elden Ring lore, they go hand in hand. You just haven't noticed it yet. First, let me get this guy, because he's making too much noise. You know, this series, I'm going to warn you, this series will get more political the more we see some of that. This guy's getting munched on by a tree. Look at him. And he's got a tarnished golden sunflower. Oh my god, I moved too quick. But I will tell you that this series will get more political the further it goes on, because Elden Ring is a very political game. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but, you know, there is a political message within Elden Ring. And it generally has to do with don't treat people poorly. I think that's probably the general message. But we first... This is what happens when the episodes are over an hour long. I might say something that gets me in trouble. I don't know if that could get me in trouble. Nazis are bad, you know? What can I say? Anyway, Elden Ring. A talisman depicting a twin blade and a confessor. Now, we found a twin blade. We have our twin blade right here. Okay? You need high dexterity to wield this. It's crazy. You need a crazy amount of skill. And it was found in the Dragon Burnt Ruins. There was a confessor. A confessor was there. The twin blade technique is a tradition of the confessors, who closely guard the secret of how they preserve the momentum of their attacks. Thus is the final strike of their onslaught all the more deadly. Now, we do not know who the confessors are aligned with, but we're going to use our prophetic powers, and that we were in the character creator, and we saw that there was a confessor class, and I don't know if they said that they're part of the Two Fingers, but we actually know. I think you can look at their what they start with. They start with a finger seal, just like our prophet class does. So prophecy and confessors, who hunt people with their twin blades, and yeah, we can kind of put those two and two together. We have the Flame of Ruins, the anathema to the Erdtree. Prophets glint on the same. Sadly, when it occurs, their sole reward is banishment. So if you're part of the Two-Finger religion and you talk about prophecies or things anti-Erdtree, you will get punished, and perhaps a confessor with a twin blade will show up and assassinate you. And perhaps there was a confessor in the Dragon Burnt Ruins in this area that has a lot of dragon Sunrealm stuff going on. So the Two Fingers probably sending out their religious assassins to kill dissidents this far out from the Erdtree. That makes sense. You don't want to, you don't really want your standing army to be occupying your invaded territory for all of eternity. So you might have to use some more covert means. And we also got a tarnished golden sunflower found in my Erdtrees, and it was on this guy who is, look at that, he's coming from the roots. The roots are essentially coming after him. So, that is also talking about, this is like an allusion to Erdtree burial, that to get the golden sunflowers, you have to feed people to the tree. We have the Miranda flowers that are carnivorous, the man-eating plants that are born from Erdtree sap and Erd leaves, Erdtree burial, and that kind of also solidifies it. You got to eat people to make it more powerful. And before there was Erdtree burial, before there was Erdtree, things were burned in ghost flame. So people's cultural practices were being eliminated. What do you call it? Well, what's the word I'm trying to think of? I don't know. I don't know what. Gosh, I can't think of the word. Like when people lose their culture, but what is? I don't know what the word is. I'm not trying to use it lightly. I'm trying to think of what is the word when you kind of eliminate someone's culture in that way. The burial practices are getting taken away. They're being replaced. It makes me think of like, I got a whip. It makes me think of like re-education schools for Native Americans that happened in the United States and Canada. I can't think of the word. But the Sun Realm is also they got castles all over the place. They are also most likely a colonizing power. So even though they're burning things in ghost flame, there probably was burial practices that were different. It could be. We'll get to it later. It might be that since the Erdtree is a tree and nature trees exist before people. It could be that it's kind of like coming back around again, like the trees are getting revenge. You know what I'm saying? Like the ghost flame, that was the practice of the colonizers, if that makes sense. Like they were burning things in ghost flame, but the people who lived here used to do trees and stuff. We're just speculation, doing some politics. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, so don't take my opinions as anything important. I guess I don't know. Just rambling. It's a long episode. Okay. Maybe we'll get more sophisticated the further that we go. Yeah. I'm sorry if I'm not giving you the juice on the Elden Ring lore when I talk about that stuff. The Rampart Jail. This is actually funny. So we talked about Everjails and stuff. That's an Everjail. That's an Everjail. This is our first just typical jail, I think. Imprisonment is also big in Elden Ring. We have Everjails. People in jail forever. That is a commentary. That is a commentary on prisons. Okay? That's, we're going to be seeing a lot more jails coming up. And in that jail, we got a whip. A leather whip, not originally used for combat, but an instrument of pain. Let's look at its moveset. Yeah, we're not going to use that, but interesting to see in the moveset. Though its supple attacks cannot be thwarted by parrying or even guarding, and it's incapable of dealing critical hits. So, this is a jail. We have a lot of jails back here, and people are being tortured in there. Until... where we love that. Torture was so cool. Our guy had to throw up a fist. He loves torture. What was I saying? Torture, jail. Oh, the guy with noble blood. Yeah, the guy with noble blood was like, he was getting tortured now. The shoe is on the other foot. And, we should, we should feel bad for both of them because no one should be tortured. Even if there's someone who thinks things about pure blood and things like that, torture is wrong regardless of who is getting tortured. Torture's bad. Don't torture people, even if you disagree with them and even if they have very, very bad opinions. I don't think they should be tortured. Even if their opinions have to do with pure blood, do not torture them, okay? Okay. I think that's also one of Elden Ring's messages. We have a bunch of spirit jellyfish down there, and they're very calm. There's that grave over there, so... Is there any bodies that were thrown down there? I think there's bodies over there. Now, did the bodies wash up, or were they dumped here? Who are these for? I'm going to assume that these are for the people who died in the rebellion. These spirit jellyfish are people who died during the rebellion, and they show up here regardless of the time of day, and I think that's because we're close to the water. When you're close to the water, the dead come back. Ooh, a crab. More fire. Yeah, the amount of fire, redmane, Castle Morne, Sword of Morne, Morning Star. I'm thinking dragons, and here we go. There's our guy with our sword. We're going to summon Edgar so we can see what he does. Actually, he has the same weapon as Engvall, so we can tell that they're both banished knights. But before we go over there, we're going to look more at this grave later, but I want to just look at him. That guy has a red mane, and he also... You know what? Maybe we'll talk about him while they're fighting. I'm going to summon Engvall and Edgar, and we're going to have them fight for him. Leonine misbegotten. What does the word leonine mean? Roar, very bestial. Oh, goodness. Don't knock me out. He has his own wings, too. He's red. Oh, there's an item back there. Oh, he's casting not... was that Erdtree incantations? They weren't the Erdtree incantations from the... what do you call it? I don't even have to fight him. They weren't the Erdtree incantations from our golden lineage, like swords, the two swords. They're much different. So, different culture. The Banished Knights have a different culture than the Erdtree one. And that symbol was different, too. So I gotta see that symbol again when we get to it.
I just noticed that those are the Erdtree incantations. He casts Wrath of Gold and Golden Vow. So he may have had a religious, he's still around because he changed his religion. He changed his affiliation. He was a Banished Knight. Now he's loyal to the Erdtree and to Godric. And that's why he gets to have the castle. So those were Erdtree spells. I just forgot what the sigil looks like.
His sword, too, the sword of the Leonine Misbegotten, is... Okay, wait. We're going to send Engvall back to the Beyond so we can talk more. The sword is also the same as those statues that have the hooded statue of the man, and the book holds that sword, too. So that's a connection between them. The final boss of this area has red hair, which, there's a few final bosses of different areas that have red hair. And I wish we could look at him more, but he's gone. But now we have that red mane. That guy had the red mane. And here we have the graves. These are the graves that we see when those who live in death pop out. So this castle is older than Erdtree burial because they're doing a different type of burial, and the vengeful spirits usually pop out of here. And these are the Erdtree type people. They look like they were dumped here. They turned into a sludge. So that, we have like a few we have the catacombs, then we have these graves, and then we have this grave. And this grave is called the... This is the Morne Moan Grave. This is a moan grave. I guess it would call a moan grave because of the hole in the center. You can kind of hear it. Like, there's a little wind. It kind of sounds like moaning. And that might be coming from this grave. The wind passes through, and it sounds like the dead are moaning. This grave is much larger than the other graves. It doesn't have any inscriptions on it. It just has what looks like fingerprints around it. So and it's built on a tree. I think we're seeing 3 generations, maybe even 4 with the water. It's at water. I think we're seeing multiple generations of burial practices being shown to us here. We also have weaponry. People are fighting here, maybe fighting to get that sword back, and we'll talk about that sword in a moment. But the graves are very interesting because we will see these graves in other locations, in very specific locations, very important locations. But this tells us that this area is very old because of this grave, this giant Morne grave. I mean, it's massive. It's not conducive for a civilized society to build shrines this big for maybe burying one person. Was this to bury a giant? Yeah, I think burying a giant makes sense. Build a giant grave to bury a giant. And we know that giants exist. Bronze medallion depicting a roaring giant. In ancient times, the giants were mortal enemies of the Erdtree. Their bellowing roars, desolated nature, triggered avalanches, and whipped up storms of flame. So, I'm thinking someone giant must be buried here. Someone giant must be buried here. And we fought an enemy with red hair. Yeah, there's like, Castle Morne is like, this is a place, you have to look. You have to open your third eye to see what's going on at Castle Morne. We were thinking about the lone hero fighting for his vengeance. Ooh, 40. If I two-hand it, can I use it? Okay, can't even use it while two-handing. Still not strong enough. I think you need like 20 or 32 strength to use it when two-handing. Maybe less. The storied, this is the grafted blade greatsword. Obviously a reference to Song of Ice and Fire. The sword is referencing, let's see if I can go to a wall so we can look at it better. The sword is referencing the Iron Throne, which was created when Aegon, the dragon, Aegon the Conqueror, melted down the people he's conquered, their thrones into their swords into a throne. We see that it's melted onto the hilt. It's grafted. Godric is doing grafting, part of the golden lineage. And we see that there's the lion, the golden lion. But the red lion, the red leonine, he was holding it. It's not supposed to be his sword. He, I guess, stole it. Let's see. It's rusted red, too. And Godric, the lone hero. What is it again? Lone hero. The Siege of Castle Morne, a lone hero fights for his vengeance, only to fall at the hands of Lord Godfrey. Grafted blade greatsword, storied sword of Castle Morne, a revenger's weapon. It is burdened with oceans of anger and regret. A lone surviving champion from a country now vanished was so determined to continue fighting that he claimed the swords of an entire clan of warriors. And you can do an oath of vengeance. Swear an oath upon the greatsword to avenge the clan. Temporary raising all attributes for a certain duration while the oath's effects are active. Poise will also be increased. So we're gonna put our prophet's blindfold on for a moment, and we're gonna think about Elden Ring as a whole. Lone hero fights for vengeance, only to fall at the hands of Lord Godfrey. So the revenger who wants vengeance is against Godfrey. We have a faction that's against Godfrey. Storied sword of Castle Morne, a revenger's weapon. It's burdened with oceans of anger and regret. They regret something. A lone surviving champion from a country now vanished. Now, the country now vanished, we have two possibilities here. It could be the Sun Realm, which is a good possibility because we have this is a Sun Realm castle, and we have a banished knight from the Sun Realm who is holding it. And the Sun Realm could have vanished because now it's the Erdtree's domain. The Erdtree, runs the show here. It's the Erdtree's domain, so the country's gone. Or it could be a literal vanishing, because we have Shadow of the Erdtree. Now we're not there yet. We're not there yet. But Castle Morne gives us a little insight into the future. This says to the Oath of Vengeance, swear an oath upon the greatsword to avenge the clan. An Oath of Vengeance. Now, there is a character within Shadow of the Erdtree who is trying to get vengeance. And they're trying to avenge their clan. And they're an enemy of Godfrey. And their country has vanished. And they sieged Castle Morne. This is the story sword of Castle Morne. It says that so determined can finally claim the swords of an entire clan of warriors to avenge the clan. So 2 clans. Wait, I gotta think. He determined a lone surviving champion from a country now vanished was so determined to continue fighting that he claimed the swords of an entire clan of warriors, and he swore an oath upon a sword to avenge the clan. So are these the swords of the clan or the people who killed the clan? That one I'm not sure of. And he wants revenge, I think, on Godfrey. Either Godfrey or America, maybe. From the country now vanished. So, you know, looking into the future, is this Sunrealm? Or is this Hornsen? Now, we fought the Misbegotten who took the sword, but he wasn't supposed to have the sword. And the Misbegotten, you know, we'll learn this. We're peering into the future right now. We're peering into the future. This is not information we'll be using further in our playthrough. But the Misbegotten are related to, you know, Hornsen, Crucible, yada. You know, stuff we're not supposed to talk about yet. But who is this supposed to be? I'm not sure yet. But what I do think is interesting, that we have these oceans of anger and regret, this giant tomb, this giant tombstone, moan grave, the red-haired Misbegotten. We learned about fire-breathing, redmane, oceans of anger and regret. There's regret, and we're going to see some regret soon. Castle Morne, while a lot of this stuff is, you know, showing kind of like a masculine, like story here, you know, anger, regret, fighting for vengeance. You know, I think we're supposed to be thinking of our masculine characters in the story. Here's a rebirth monument. But let's not forget the more feminine characters as well, who, you know, could this be America? You know, is this supposed to be America? Are we supposed to inverse these types of things and think America instead of our redheads? You know, the redheads that King Consort Radigan has, looks like he has red hair. Is that supposed to, and you know, we know, Radigan is somebody. What is that supposed to be saying? You know, is this, you know, the Weeping Peninsula lands between Rit Small. Is that supposed to be telling us about America and not, oh, I forgot to drink my juice, and not who we might think it is? It's hard to say. A lot of the information we got during our Weeping Peninsula saga, it will be useful into the future. Maybe we will see more during our playthrough that'll make us like relate it back to oh, was that what Castle Morne was foreshadowing? You know, things like that. But we did get a lot of useful information. We learned a lot about the world, and we're going to be finishing up the storyline right here of the Weeping Peninsula. I guess we're not even finishing it, but you know, coming to a close after we finish Edgar's quest. But I'd really appreciate if you could in the comments, you know, give me your thoughts on what Castle Morne is trying to tell us, and the Weeping Peninsula as a whole. You know, what is it trying to represent? And if you say it's not representing anything, you are wrong, and it's okay to be wrong. But don't bother commenting that. You will be wasting your time. But I know if you're watching this video, if you've gotten this far, you know that that's not wrong. You know that there is some symbolism going on here. You know that something's here. You might not know exactly what it is. I don't know exactly what it is. But there is something here And I think this... Oh, wait, they're half white and red. Oh my goodness. Oh my god. This game is so genius. Yeah. You know, when I made that, Oh, the Old Fang. Have we gotten those before? I gotta talk about the Old Fang, if I don't die. No, this is our first Old Fang. Excellent. So this Old Fang dropped from a... did it drop or would you pick it up? Well, it was here. We're going to tie it to the misbegotten, because you know it does. A rarely seen specimen of a beast fang. Okay, people don't see this that often. Found by hunting carnivorous beasts. So only some beasts have it. These multiple overlapping fangs grow from a single root. Perhaps they are a vestige of the primordial crucible. And I think our other mention of the crucible is... No, we have the primordial matter that became the Erdtree. And this is the primordial crucible. So the primordial crucible became the Erdtree. And we know that because this is also primordial. And it is red. This is a red shield. It's red gold. It's tinted red gold. These guys have red. That guy had red. Crucible, red. And that's pretty interesting. It's red. Not just fire, but primordial matter that became the Erdtree. The primordial matter that became the Erdtree. And the Erdtree has the power of life itself. I think that says that in one of our runes, right? Yes. The runes, even now, the runes are still empowered with the power of life itself. So the primordial crucible was the power of life itself. And when you have the power of life itself, you might have more fangs than you should have. But these guys are seen as menial. They have the power of life itself, but they're seen as menial, even though there's a primordial life energy inside of the sap. The old sap that became amber. So there's a little bit of hypocrisy going on here. There's a little bit of hypocrisy. We're going to have to clear these guys out so I can actually TP away. So there we go. That's our first mention of the Crucible. And a Crucible... Can we see it from all the way over here? A Crucible is a container used to melt or subject substances to a high temperature. And that up there... our prophecy is telling us that there's a flame of ruin, and we think it might be at the top of that mountain, and that could be a crucible. Is that the crucible that became the Erdtree? Did that become the Erdtree? Probably not, because it's the power of life itself. The power of life itself. Does it say anything else about the crucible? Do we have... I don't think so. I don't think so. Gold coat odor. Yeah, the gold coat mirrors the primordial matter that became the Erdtree. Vestige of the primordial crucible. Alright, let's tell Edgar we got the sword.
I'm in your debt for keeping the sword from those fallen creatures.
Oh, they fallen. Fallen from grace?
Bound by duty. Once I've rescued Irina, I will spend my remaining days with her. Thanks to you, I will be reunited with Irina and devote my remaining days to her. Irina has a gentle nature, though. I only hope it remains intact.
That one I think is interesting. Who is that talking about? Who has that gentle nature that we hope remains intact? Something horrific is going to happen, and their gentle nature is not going to remain intact. And we know about rebirth. Rebirth is something going on here. Uh-oh. Where'd her tag go? Yeah, so who in our story is that supposed to be? And there, she heard howling, if we were very important, that she did hear howling. Howling is going to be important when we come across that. Oh no. Irina has been murdered. Quite expected. She was unsafe over here. All of her soldiers were already dead, but she was left alive. She was left alive long enough for us to get her letter, to give it to her father, so her father can come back and see this. Okay? One thing I think that Weeping Peninsula does pretty well is if we're looking at, Elden Ring, what do these say? Sadness ahead. Let's see what he says. Now he's mourning. Oceans of anger and regret. There's a regret.
I chose duty over my daughter's safety.
Yep.
And that is
Fate. Fate is very important. This is fated. There's no way to avoid this. This will always happen to him. You cannot change this character's fate. I mean, you could. You can kill him early. You can kill him at this castle, and then he won't have to suffer this fate. But typically, this is his fate. The story demands it. And one thing that I think is interesting is that Elden Ring is showing how a plot happens. This is how they do plots in Elden Ring. Irina, there is howling at the castle, okay? She hears howling. Howling. Oh, he did this symbol. Oh, goodness. Okay, let me finish this thought, and then we'll talk about the roads. She heard howling at the castle, okay? The menials, the misbegotten, the crucible people with the white bodies and the red fur, they rebelled. He couldn't leave. It is my duty as to defend it. She leaves with an armed guard from Godric's soldiers. However, they all die except for her. She can't defend herself. She lives long enough for our Tarnish to come by to get her letter, to deliver to her father. Her father gets the letter and he says, well, I can't go help her now. You have to get the sword. If he left before we got the sword, perhaps she'd still be alive. But he didn't. He chose duty. Now he's oceans of anger and regret. And he's going to change. There it is. There's the anger. For vengeance.
I'll hunt them down.
Yeah.
Exterminate every last one.
That exterminate is a very, very heavy word.
Irina, it will be done.
So let's say someone wanted him to do that, to have this character turn. They would manipulate our actions. Or they manipulate the actions on a scale. This is a pretty big scale just to get him to do that. And when we, started the game, when we picked our class, we chose the Bewitching Branch. This tree branch blessed with an incantation of unalloyed gold, with a spiral tree as its symbol, pink mist. It comes from the demigod and the Empyrean, Mikola, who is loved by many people, and indeed, he has learned very well how to compel such affection. So we're seeing kind of like, there's a lot of steps to get Edgar to want to go on this path of revenge. She's dead. Thank you. But they come together. And they come together only because of our Tarnish. Is someone or something manipulating the events of the story? Now remember, this Weeping Peninsula, Elden Ring writ small. There's a lot of steps that have to happen. A lot of things have to happen. A lot of things have to happen in a causal chain of events for Edgar to be wanting to find revenge. All right? So that's something to think about. And that's one of the most important things to understand about Elden Ring, how complex some of these schemes are. Before we sign off, I mentioned these roads before. I want to thank the channel Nameless Singer for bringing this up on her Gold Road video. I don't think she talked about the Sunrun, but this was the sigil that we saw Edgar cast. Jack, in post again, that was not the sigil we saw in cast. They are different sigils. Something similar to that. And you find them all the towers. This kind of looks, you might, it's not the same as, that's the Erdtree. You could see it's got the same tops, but it's Erdtree. You know what I'm saying? Like, it has a bit of the cross action going on there. But this is full cross, no tree with Elden Ring. No cross, full tree, Elden Ring. So this is a culture, I think, that built this that isn't maybe not too interested in trees, but they're interested in the Elden Ring. And it's different than the... Before you say, aha, that is the Golden Order Fundamentalist. That is not the Golden Order Fundamentalist sigil. Let me show you it before we sign off. Oh yeah, here we go. We can actually see it. I didn't have to do that. That's the Golden Order Fundamentalist sigil. So this, you know, I think it's pretty safe to say this might be Sun Realm. Also known as Circle, Sun Realm. Sun's a circle. Yeah. And there's kind of gold someplace. So I think we had a lot of fun on the Weeping Peninsula. This is a pretty long episode. Castle Morne took a lot. I did do a little politics. But that's just what's going to happen sometimes. And in 17 episodes, being able to do most of Limgrave, not doing down there, and all of the Weeping Peninsula, it's pretty good. Our next foray, our next saga is going to be the Weeping Peninsula. And we are going to do about, not in one episode, but we're not doing that. We're doing Stormhill, and we're going to stop like here. We're going to do all of this. That's going to be next. Then we are going to do, I think we'll do Stormvale Castle. And then I'm saving the well for later. When should we do the well? I don't know yet. But Stormhill is going to be next. We might actually do the well before Stormvale. We might do the well before Stormvale. That's going to be a fun saga. All right. Thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this video. I also want to thank everyone for being a member. 50 members as of time of recording in October of 2024. So who knows when this series goes live to public. But in October 2024, the channel Jack as a Mimic had 50 members who wanted to watch the Mimic commentary. And that is just awesome. We're going to run back over the Bridge of Sacrifice, and we're going to go back into Prophet Vision. We're not going to have our future foresight that we once did. We'll back to laymen who can only use the things that we find during the game. All right, I want to thank everybody for watching. I'll see you in the next one. You know the drill. Let's do the tang.